For the Matt Wyatt Show. The guy who's the color commentator for Mississippi State football and SEC baseball. So yeah, he brings a lot to the game, and he's right here.
Right now!
Online at thezone1059.com and on your radio at ESPN 105.9 The Zone.
Hey, turn your mic on, Matt. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. Welcome in on a Monday. I'm Matt in the Farm Bureau studio. Farm Bureau, go with the home team. They are your home team at Farm Bureau Insurance across the great state of Mississippi. Yes, sir. Available to you in all 82 counties. Your hometown heroes. That's your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. I get to stay connected to you around the clock, not just when we're on the air, but around the clock, 24/7, because of C-Spire, the number one network in Mississippi. C-Spire, customer inspired. I know they don't do it much anymore, but the Braves have won 5 in a row. Did y'all know that? Come on with that. The Braves have won 5 in a row. That's enough of that. Let's start the show off right.
5 seconds left to play.
You're listening to the Matt Wyatt Show.
I want winners.
This crowd is alive.
Play to win the game.
Wyatt from the shotgun, 2 backs alongside.
Knock him out, John.
Wyatt gets the ball.
It won't be long.
Wyatt back to throw. Wyatt looks, fires toward the end zone. Passes, caught for touchdown by Matthew Butler.
Speak to
The Matt Wyatt Show. He's Radio Wyatt.
Well, how am I going to go to college? I'll just play football.
Okay, that's the real deal. A little Jack, a little Jerry, and now we're ready to go. Hey to y'all. Thanks for tuning in here on this Monday. First, comments on the Periscope live feed, Periscope Twitter. I'm Radio Wyatt. Y'all look me up over there if you want to watch and tune in live. That's one way to do it. Brom, first comment, says, good afternoon. Well, good afternoon to you, too. Yeah, it's 2 minutes afternoon, isn't it? Derek, the first comment on Facebook. What's up, Derek? And at the start of the show, I'm glad you're here. Danny says, Hail State on this Monday from Ringgold, Georgia. So thanks for tuning in. Yeah, if y'all want to watch live streaming the show, check it out on Facebook, facebook.com/Radio Wyatt. It's also streaming live on YouTube, youtube.com/Matt Wyatt Media. Just, search it. And, of course, as I said on Twitter, you can get the Periscope link there on Twitter, @Radio Wyatt. I'm going to get your phone calls. JB, a good Monday to you. How was your weekend?
Man, we had a fantastic weekend, brother.
That's great.
Good time with my daughter and her husband, my wonderful son-in-law, my grandson, and found out that number 2 is on the...
Oh, that's great. Found that out this weekend, huh?
Absolutely. Very, very excited, Matt.
Yeah, I tell you.
Ain't nothing like being a grandfather.
That's what they say.
They call me Big Poppy.
Oh, is that your granddad name? Is Big
That's
Poppy?
That's my granddad. He doesn't call me Big, but he says Poppy.
That's
Poppy.
great. Big Poppy. That's great. Well, congratulations, man.
Thank you so much, bud.
Yeah.
Good to be here on a Monday.
Yeah, same for me. Good to be here as well. Y'all call me. JB, you'll just have to text me if we get a phone call, just like last week. That'll be fine. And it's one of those deals like where the deal on the call screen, for me anyway, every now and then it resets the password. And I never know how to do it, so somebody's going to have to do that for me. I'll just email the guy later. So if we get a call, just text me, and I'll try to see it on my phone here from C-Spire. You can call me on the aforementioned phone line, Davini Equipment phone line. The number is 995-1059. That is a 601 number, 601-995-1059. Davini Equipment, Madison and in Jackson. Hey, I told y'all this last week. It still goes for today on Monday. Davini Equipment is hiring. They are looking for you. Remember that Uncle Sam poster you used to see all the time where Uncle Sam's like pointing at you? They're looking for you. That's right, at Davini. They need a diesel technician in the shop. That's kind of the main need right now. They need an assembly technician in the shop, a service writer there in the shop as well. They need a sales associate on the floor. So you're talking about ag sales, turf, construction. And there's 2 locations, obviously, Madison and in Jackson. Highway 51 in Madison, Spring Ridge Road, Jackson, Raymond. Y'all can call them at 859-0020 or 859-0020 just find the contact at DaviniEquipment.com if that applies to you. I know there's lots of folks out there looking for a job right now. So hit them up. Davini's looking to hire you. Again, y'all call me on the Davini phone. Here's the number to call me, 995-1059. And text me on the Country Pleasin' text line. Country Pleasin' sausage. I didn't have it for breakfast. I had it for lunch. That's a true story. Sliced it up long ways, fried it in the pan, put it on a piece of bread, ate it for lunch. Sure did. Country Pleasin' sausage. Text line is 885-ESPN. That is a 601 number. 885-ESPN. What is this thing, JB, before I get into the news of today, what is this thing that Fletch brought to you in the studio?
Yeah, well, he texted me on the way and said, what time you get there? And I told him, and he met me in the parking lot, and he gave me this bag. It's B.B. King Museum. So I automatically got excited.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, it's not anything from the B.B. King Museum. But I figure, and he mentioned the school that I graduated from, which he did not graduate from said school.
Okay.
And he said, I thought you might like this around the studio, just to kind of, spruce some things up for you. And it's a banana bookend.
It's
bookends. I'm not really sure what to do with that.
It looks ceramic.
Well, it's not ceramic. It's more like plastoramic.
Plastoramic. Okay, so it's plastic. But it's a banana where you put it on each end of the rows of books on your shelf, so it looks like a giant banana holding the books together. So the bookends is two ends of a banana.
Yeah.
And
I'm assuming he thought we had books in the studio.
Well, he told, yeah, right. What would we have books for? What are we going to do? Read them on the air? We got records, I'm sure, stacked away somewhere.
Yeah. But it's a nice gift, but I'm just not sure what to do with it.
Yeah. Well, I think it probably harkens back to Mississippi State baseball's magical run a few years ago into the College World Series where Jordan Westberg, who was a freshman at the time, made it famous, the Rally Banana.
I think you're exactly right.
We had the Rally Banana T-shirts, which I still have some of those, by the way. Still fit. Yeah. A Rally Banana.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's what
You're pretty smart. I thought I was going to get over on you with that one. But, you're thinking pretty quickly on Monday.
Yeah, I'm smarter than the average bear. There's a lot of double entendre and all that, but Ole Miss didn't have the bear anymore. Hey, listen, y'all text me on the Country Pleasing text line 885-ESPN. Now, let me give you a heads up. Several things to get to today, including we're going to do 3 teams on the countdown of 100 teams in 100 days. But I'm not adjusting the countdown until September the 5th because I don't know if you know this or not, but we got a quote today from a sitting athletics director out there that today gave a quote and said, we're planning on playing football September the 5th. Now, you may have missed it. You may not be aware. I'll tell you who, what, when, and where. So for now, I think we still may be playing football on September 5th. We'll see. The countdown will continue, and we'll extend it into September up to the SEC season and just have fun with it. We can do it whatever we want. But in terms of rearranging the teams at this moment, until everybody shuts down football and they say there's no college football happening on September 5th, until then, we'll keep the countdown the way it is. So today you got 3 teams. Today's team at 33, yesterday's team at 34, Saturday's team at 35. So 3 teams on the countdown today. Looking forward to that. Countdown every day brought to you by Matt Anderson with National Land Realty. Also, Pac-12 athletes have gotten together, a handful of them, and said, we have a list of demands. And we're not just talking about, playing a conference-only season, which they're going to do in the Pac-12. So we'll go over what those details are. Now, that news is not fresh as of today or yesterday. It's a couple days ago. You've probably had time to consume, some information about it. I got a few thoughts on it, and I want to get your thoughts on it as well. So y'all text me or call me. I want to mention something first before I get into the possibility, the lack of a possibility of the Egg Bowl matchup moving around from the end of the season, moving elsewhere. We're told that's not going to happen. I got a few thoughts on that, but I want to address this first. A guy who actually played a big role in an Egg Bowl game, and I think it might have actually been, I'll go back and look it up. Was it 2012 or was it 10? Anyway, one of those early Dan Mullen Egg Bowls, a backup center had to play named DJ Looney, and DJ had a really good ball game. was a good player, and then went into coaching. And everybody kind of in the coaching community, even though he was really young and he was new, relatively new in the coaching industry because of his youth, everybody knew DJ. And DJ passed away of a heart attack on Saturday. That was the report. They were doing a team workout at the University of Louisiana. He was a Raging Cajun. He coached there last year when they played against his alma mater, Mississippi State. I knew DJ pretty well. We communicated a lot over the last 2-3 years. Just periodically, I would say on average, once a month, once every couple of months, he would direct message me on Twitter. I'd DM him, and then we started texting, and he'd talk about this coaching staff and that coaching staff, or this player and that player, this game, that game. And he watched and listened to a lot of my content, football stuff, and sometimes he'd give me feedback. Every now and then he'd tell me I was wrong, and every now and then he'd tell me I nailed it. I got to know him that way. So I was a good bit older than him, but I knew him because I knew him as a player, and then got to know him a little bit when he was on the coaching staff at Mississippi State, coaching tight ends before he went on. He spent some time at Georgia on their staff, and then was recently coaching the offensive line at ULL, and had a heart attack, and he was only 31 years old. So really just tragic. He grew up in Birmingham, and then, as I mentioned, played at Mississippi State. It couldn't have been 2012 when he played, because it says he began his coaching career as a GA in 11, so it would have been one of those early Egg Bowls, 09 or 10 under Dan Mullen, when he stepped in and played for a guy who was injured and played really well late in the year. But just a tragic thing. Lost a friend. I didn't get to know him as well as I would have liked to, because, coaches, they really do move around. But one thing about DJ is he kind of knew everybody. And so I hope you will keep DJ Looney's family, friends, and certainly those young players at ULL who probably would have witnessed all of that on Saturday. Keep them all in your prayers, would you? I know I will. And all the best out to DJ. Peanut Butter Falcon on the Country Pleasing text line says, DJ and I went to Mississippi State the same year. I was just a normal student. He befriended guys like me. Didn't just hang out with the athletes. One of the kindest, most genuine people I've ever known. And it really is true. He was one of those that, you hear people say, well, so-and-so never met a stranger. Well, DJ never met a stranger. No such thing as stranger to DJ Looney. He was an impressive kid. And I think that's certainly the sad thing about that. We're all going to miss him. People just love having him around, so gone too soon. 31 years old. All right. Hit the reset button here. I got something I want to get into with you. Now, yes, the Pac-12 stuff came out over the weekend, the list of demands. We're going to get into that. This is Pac-12 related on a nugget that I heard, and it sparked a thought about the Egg Bowl. Okay. Over the weekend, I guess it was Steve Robertson might have tweeted out something, and maybe someone had asked him to look into this or what, or maybe he just heard it through the grapevine. But apparently he asked an official at Mississippi State about the idea that the Egg Bowl might move to earlier in the year, this year, with this adjusted schedule, conference-only schedule. Move it off the last weekend, maybe move it up, maybe put it in the first weekend, stuff like that. And we'll get to the reasons why you would even consider that. But he asked him, and the off-the-record comment that, or unnamed source said, that's not happening. Okay, the Egg Bowl not going to move to a different time of the year. That's not happening, being the quote there. So I started thinking about that. Why not? Okay, it makes sense. I get it. But we talked about it here on Friday that if you were to just take your most important games, that can be rivalry games, it could be big-time TV matchups, that kind of thing. If you are reshuffling the whole schedule in the SEC with this new 10-game schedule, if you put them earlier in the year, wouldn't it, number one, give you a better chance that the game will be played early, because it's early, before some potential outbreak could happen? And number two, wouldn't it then give you a chance, if it's scheduled early in the year and an early breakout does happen or during preseason camp, and you have to make early adjustments to shuffle games around, it gives you more options for where could you move it to make sure the game gets played. Doesn't that make sense? And if you're a State or an Ole Miss fan, when you glance at the possibilities on your schedule, Ole Miss, you're going to play LSU, Alabama, Auburn. Don't you want to play the Egg Bowl? Don't you want to play Mississippi State? If you're Mississippi State, you're going to play all these other games. They're all interesting to you, right? You know, State playing against, like I said, Alabama, Auburn, LSU, these other teams. Yeah. But doesn't the Egg Bowl interest you the most? Be honest. Doesn't it interest you the most playing that one, playing the Egg Bowl? So the answer was they're not going to do it. Well, look at what the Pac-12 did. And maybe this is where that idea came from. When the Pac-12 did this reshuffling of their schedule, look at what they did. Pac-12 goes, we're going to do conference only. Does that sound familiar? SEC. Yeah, it does sound familiar. So Pac-12 is going to do conference only, just like the SEC. Pac-12 goes, we're going to start our conference only schedule on September 26th. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, same thing the SEC is doing. And look at what the Pac-12 did. They have USC at UCLA in week 1. They have Stanford at Washington in week 1. Now, there are some other games in that week 1 Pac-12 schedule. I don't know if you classify them as rivalry games. It doesn't look like it. You know, Cal at Oregon State, Colorado at Oregon, Utah at Washington State. But they also have Arizona State at Arizona scheduled for the first week of the year, September 26th. So three huge rivalry games in week 1 of the Pac-12 schedule. So what does it do for them? Number one, it gives them a better chance that the game is actually played because they put it in week 1. If teams can just get out of preseason camp without some big outbreak, they'll play those games. But even if there is some sort of outbreak preseason, something happens and stuff has to get pushed back or delayed, if you've got it scheduled early, there's a better chance of finding a place to put it. Better chance it gets played. That's the way I see it. Okay? Now, sometimes when I bring up stuff like this and I start going, look, State and Ole Miss, if the SEC would do it, ought to look at taking this Egg Bowl and move it up on this adjusted schedule instead of playing it at the end of the year. It gives you a better chance of getting it played. Here's a third factor. Late in the year, November, is there not a better chance of flu and coronavirus coming back up and getting even worse at that time of year as it is early in the year? I think so. I think that's a third factor. So we've got sources out here who've said that's not happening, slam the door on that idea. Yet, if I'm looking at it just logically, it makes sense to possibly move it up if it's important, if it's a ratings type of game, if it's an important game to those schools, a big game within the conference schedule, the rivalry games. What are the biggest?
May I jump in and ask you a question?
Yeah, hit me up.
So here's what I'm thinking. I can appreciate everything you're saying, and I understand the point that you're taking. It's almost like NASCAR with the Daytona 500, the very first run of the year.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, let's say the prognostication happens and there is an outbreak, and let's see after the 4th game everything gets canceled. So will there even be a season then? So will those games that you play early even matter?
Yeah.
Unless there is a completion of the season.
A completion? Yeah, sure. It makes sense. Well, okay. And I actually was out early exercising in my neighborhood and stuff early this morning. And I was listening to Bo Bounds on the Out of Bounds show here on 105.9 The Zone in my headphones as I went around. And I missed this, but somebody texted us on the Country Pleasing text line and says that John Cohen said this morning on Bo's show that it would be the last game of the year, December 5th. And I get that. Okay, so it's going to be December 5th, the weekend before they'd have a scheduled SEC title game. And I get it. You want it to be last. all those kinds of things. And maybe the other rivalry games are going to remain at the end of the year. Alabama-Auburn, maybe it remains at the end of the year. You know, you got Alabama-Auburn, you got Mississippi State-Ole Miss. Anybody else in the SEC have an in-state rivalry that compares to that? Anybody else in the SEC have an in-state rivalry game where the television ratings in that state compare to that? The Egg Bowl is the biggest TV rating every year here with State and Ole Miss in this state. Okay, so he says it's going to stay at the end of the year. Well, that's the decision. Well, I'm going to ask a question here as the music is about to begin, and I want your thoughts on this. I have all kinds of crazy thoughts during all this stuff. Maybe this one is crazy. Maybe it's not. With the way that the SEC over the last several years, because of the extracurricular activity in the Egg Bowl, pushing, shoving, it wasn't a brawl, but all that negative look. And the SEC has looked down their nose at the rivalry and pulled in the athletics directors, gave them a good talking to, and it's kind of talked down to the rivalry. Would the SEC be fine with leaving it at the end of the year, knowing it might give it less of a chance of actually happening?
Now you're tapping into my conspiracy theorist side.
Hey, but makes you think, doesn't it? Okay. Makes me think, too. Just a thought. Let me get your thoughts on that. I'll get to your texts, TR and Tip and everybody coming up next on the Country Pleasing text line. Y'all stick around.
Central Mississippi
Farm Bureau Insurance stands ready to provide financial relief to our communities in this time of crisis. This includes a one-time credit to all personal auto policyholders, a donation of $500,000 to the Mississippi Food Network, and additional payment options for those hit the hardest, all while continuing to service customer claims as well. But this is the time to go above and beyond. These are a few ways we're keeping the Farm Bureau promise. To learn more, talk to your agent or visit us online. Go with the home team.
Every farmer understands their farm can't thrive without some good partners like sun, soil, and rain. And farmers in North Mississippi also rely on another important partner, Mississippi Land Bank, because land and farm financing are Mississippi Land Bank's primary focus. We've grown alongside these farmers' crops for more than 100 years. We understand what a farmer needs, and we know the lay of the land in North Mississippi, and that's where I stand.
How you like my hog hat? That stands for Country Pleasing Sausage. Country Meat Packers, a great Mississippi company. Let me tell you a little bit about them, huh? You want to know the reason that you need to sit down at the table and say, Country Pleasing, please? Here's why. It all starts with hand-picked, pure pork. No parts, no stuff. It's hand-picked ham, bacons, pork loins, the real deal. They produce Country Pleasing in small batches also, which means consistency in every package. Spices, fresh ones that are mixed daily on site right there at the plant in Florence. The hand-picked pure pork is coarse ground for an old-style snappy bite, better flavor. Now, their smokehouses are not cookie-cutter houses either. They are designed and built for country meat packers and for their own smoking methods. And they use hickory logs that they split daily on site. They don't use hickory sawdust. The logs produce a better smoke, a stronger flavor. It's the real deal. They use a natural hog casing for their sausage. It's soaked in vinegar for a tender snap. Country Pleasing sausage is smoked in a 4-hour pure smoke process for the best color and flavor. And here's the thing, it's hand cut, so the package experience is great as well. When you check it out on grocery store shelves throughout the Southeast, you'll see what I'm talking about. And frankly, let me put it this way. It's the best tasting sausage you'll put in your mouth every time, period. That's Country Pleasing. Have yourself a Country Pleasing morning, and always text the show on the Country Pleasing text line.
Guys, 2020 is here. So new year, that means
we got some new products, and I know you guys are probably getting ready for this year coming up. So a lot of people in the equipment world, things kind of go in trends, I guess, if you want to say it. So kind of the first big thing for 2020 that we look at when we start evaluating our business is going to be our turf equipment. That's kind of the first big push, because once everything, the water dries up and the grass starts growing, this is what everybody's looking to get. So we've got Kubota, we've got Toro, we carry the new Wright stand-up mower. Doesn't look like much, and it's dirty as all get out. But this thing is, and it costs just as much as zero turn. Not a cheap unit at all. I mean, if you go out there and look at that zero turn, this thing right here, I mean, it's got all your components from your big pumps to your commercial engine to your large steel deck. And these guys were the first ones to make the standard mower. So we added this product last year, and I was just trying to kind of wade in the water with it just to kind of see what they would do. Number one stand-on mower out there. If you do your own research, get online, all roads are going to basically lead back to Wright. So Red Max, so from the handheld to the Red Max mowers, we have everything here at Davini. You've got homeowner mowers, starting with a 100 series, going up to the 400 series, going up to your full-blown commercial.
All right. We're really just getting started with you here on this Monday. Thanks for tuning in. However you're watching, listening, tuning in, whatever the case may be. Good Monday to y'all. Hope your week's off to a good start. Ours is because of you. Folks like Anna watching and listening on Facebook, she said good points. Yeah, I hope those were good points. At least it make us think. Now, I get the reality of all of it is they're not doing anything with the Egg Bowl. It's going to stay on the last weekend. It's scheduled to happen December 5th. That's the only game on the Mississippi State schedule right now and the Ole Miss schedule right now that we know. The rest of them are up in the air. I don't know if we're going to get that schedule. I told you on Friday I thought it would either come late Friday afternoon at the earliest or sometime Monday. I don't know that we're going to get it here on Monday. I mean, if we do, I think it may be later today if they release what the schedule is actually going to be for the SEC. But hopefully by the end of the day, maybe it'll be like last week and that scheduling news will come down during the drive with Jake Wimberly and Beaver here on 105.9 The Zone. And we'll be doing work around the house listening. So, we get breaking news on the drive. Maybe it'll be like that, like it was last week. Paul on Facebook said, excuse me, let's see. Pat Hughes mentioned Pitt, Pirate player last week that resides in Tupelo. Who did he play at State? Paul, I'm not sure what that question is. I need a little more info there on what you're asking on Facebook. Just let me know. In regards to the schedule, Jason on Facebook said, I think the issues is that all of the other schools lost their big in-state rivals. Well, they did. I mean, Georgia loses Georgia Tech, Florida loses Florida State, Louisville loses Kentucky, and South Carolina loses Clemson. Right, so you're not going to have those games happening on the final weekend. So in order to have if the season plays out and you get 10 weeks into it, I guess in order to have a sense of normalcy on that last weekend of a rivalry weekend, you've got to play the Egg Bowl and the Iron Bowls on that weekend, right? Because you don't have these others. But throughout the year, you have these other quasi-rivalries. You've got the cocktail party, Georgia, Florida. You got some of this other stuff. You got Ole Miss, LSU, some of that kind of thing. TR from Braxton on the Country Pleasing text line says, good point, because there are no guarantees. It might be the best chance for a win for both teams, considering they are in the SEC West. Yeah, for playing each other. I mean, it's going to be tough, but the thing about it is, TR, how in the world is anybody supposed to predict wins and losses? I mean, really, you don't know which coaches are going to be good in this abbreviated, adjusted, weird scenario and which aren't. It's not normal for any of them. It's not normal for any of the players. We don't know which players are going to be healthy and which ones aren't. We don't know which ones are going to be sick. We don't know how many games each team's going to play. There's all this kind of stuff. We don't know if injuries are going to be worse or better. We'll know all that stuff afterwards. It's so hard to predict wins and losses, how it's going to go. The way, as hard as it is normally, it's even more difficult and more of a crapshoot now. Tip on the Country Pleasing text line, 885-ESPN. 885-ESPN or 885-3776. Tip says, if State and Ole Miss play on December the 5th, that's the high school state championships. Is it really? It'll be that weekend? Where are the championships supposed to be played this year?
They haven't fully released that schedule. I was looking at that over the weekend. They were tentatively scheduled for that particular weekend.
Yeah, it's always that first weekend of December because it always seems to line up with the SEC championship game every year.
Right, and with everything being pushed back.
Yeah.
So it's just still kind of up in the air, just kind of like what you're talking about with the SEC schedule.
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. Games will be postponed. Some will be canceled. There will be a lot of games where not the whole team is going to be playing. We're just going to be seeing all kinds of stuff like that. There are people right now in the athletics world who, if you look them in the eye and ask them, hey, even though we're here and we got a schedule or we're getting a schedule, it's going to be 10 games. You think we're going to play football? And there are people in the athletics world who, off the record, will say, I don't see how it's possible. And then others who will go, oh, yeah, got no choice. Got to play. Have to. Ron texts the show. He's from Huntsville, Alabama, the Rocket City. Says the SEC should get rid of divisions and keep rivalry games. He says Power 5 champs and independent best record advance to the playoffs. One location, give playoff games, bowl sponsoring. Yeah, so like you're saying, migrate what are now called bowl games, and they're just a part of some expanded playoff, and that's what people want to do. And that's really what people want. And there's so much to get into in that regard, too. This whole thing that we're seeing right now where the Power 5 schools even let it slip out there over the weekend that, hey, if the NCAA doesn't compete with us and we get into this football season, we may just have our own championship. Well, hey, that's just one indication of how close we really are to this break apart of the Power 5 going off on their own and everybody else having to figure it out on their own. Games sure could still be scheduled. It's like right now you still have Power 5 teams scheduling FCS teams. We still schedule them. You can still play if you want to. It's just it would give a clear dividing line where there needs to be one, and there isn't one right now. And it's a different rant for another day. But this is where I stand on it, and I'm not moving off of this because it's the truth. It's the flat truth. The NCAA model, as it is right now, with 120 plus, Division I football playing schools, we have the Power 5 and the Group of 5 within that Division I. So the big umbrella is Division I, right? FBS, right? FBS. But under FBS, you've got Power 5 and Group of 5, or Power 5 and non-Power 5. And right now, under the current umbrella, they're all the same. There's one championship for all of them. One in FBS. There's one FBS championship. That means that Fresno State is playing for and chasing the same national championship that Penn State is. Okay? That means that the NCAA, as goofy as it sounds, says that Michigan, the University of Michigan, okay, is at the same level, chasing the same championship as the University of South Alabama. It's just stupid. It's, I hate to throw God's name around, but as one person said one time sitting next to me at a ball game, that's God awful. Well, whatever that means. That's a term that people have used before. It's awful. It's horrible for them to have passed that off as long as they have.
It's somewhat oxymoronic, too, because you think God cannot be anything but good. It's not in God's capacity.
Right.
And then you got awful. So it's kind of like jumbo shrimp, just magnified to the 10th power.
Jumbo shrimp. That's right. Well, I agree. Okay. But, for them, if you go to a school in the Sun Belt, you do not have a national championship to play for. Period. There isn't one. Everybody else has one, except the group of 5. You go, well, Matt, it's their fault for trying to get into Division I. They should have stayed in Division II. What do you mean it's their fault? It's real simple. Just draw a clear dividing line, and the Power 5 schools that have the resources and the fan bases, they chase a title that is at their level. And the group of 5 schools, they chase a championship at their level. It's that simple. Division III has a playoff and a championship. Division II, playoff and championship. 1AA or FCS, a whole playoff and championship. And then skip ahead to the SEC, the ACC, the Pac-12, the Big 12, and the Big 10. They have a championship, and frankly, most of those teams can get there. It's feasible. Somebody commented on Twitter when it came up this weekend. They go, Matt, because I said Southern Miss, it's laughable that Southern Miss and Alabama chase the same championship. They said, it's also laughable that Ole Miss and State chase the same one as Alabama. No, it's not. Those schools have some built-in excuses. They don't have the resources or the size fan base of an Alabama, Florida. It's much harder at State or Ole Miss. But I don't want to hear it. The first playoff rankings that ever came out had State number 1 and Ole Miss number 2. No excuses. The Southern Miss ain't sniffing it, the college football playoff, and not going to. They're in a whole level out here. And Southern Miss and South Alabama and Louisiana Monroe and Louisiana Lafayette and, the Mountain West and all those schools, Sun Belt, Conference USA, Florida Atlantic, all of them, Marshall, they all have a division. They are the group of 5, and they ought to have their own national championship to chase. And doggone it, if you gave them that, more people would have watched their TV games during that playoff chase. I got all the answers if they'll just listen. Just getting started with you. We got team number 35 on the countdown of 100 teams coming up next. I'm Matt in the Farm Bureau studio. Stick around.
Every farmer understands their farm can't thrive without some good partners like sun, soil, and rain. And farmers in North Mississippi also rely on another important partner, Mississippi Land Bank, because land and farm financing are Mississippi Land Bank's primary focus. We've grown alongside these farmers' crops for more than 100 years. We understand what a farmer needs, and we know the lay of the land in North Mississippi, and that's where I stand.
Farm Bureau Insurance stands ready to provide financial relief to our communities in this time of crisis. This includes a one-time credit to all personal auto policyholders, a donation of $500,000 to the Mississippi Food Network, and additional payment options for those hit the hardest, all while continuing to service customer claims as well. But this is the time to go above and beyond. These are a few ways we're keeping the Farm Bureau promise. To learn more, talk to your agent or visit us online. Go with the home team.
You hear me say that C-Spire is the number 1 network in Mississippi. That's unquestioned. They are another great Mississippi company as well and really support local sports, high school. You see their logo and their advertisements at Ole Miss and at Mississippi State and at Southern Miss and everywhere. And you may have heard this, you may not have, though. I mentioned this recently on the show, but there's a new thing they have at C-Spire called the C-Spire Health app. Okay, go to cspirehealth.com, read about it, sign up, and you put that app on your phone. And basically, if you have a minor ailment, a sickness, a minor health issue, something that, we're not talking about a broken leg or a heart attack. I mean, minor sickness ailments, instead of having to go to the doctor for that and sit in the doctor's office for an hour. If you live out, drive 40 minutes just to get to the doctor's office, you pick up the phone, click on the C Spire Health app, and within minutes, you are video chatting, like FaceTime. You're video conferencing, talking to a medical professional at University Medical Center. One-on-one, live conversation, like nurse practitioner, someone like that. And a lot of times they can tell you what's going on, maybe even diagnose you right there on your phone and prescribe something without you ever even having to leave your house. Check it out, cspirehealth.com and the C Spire Health app. How you like my hog hat? That stands for Country Pleasin' Sausage. Country Meat Packers is a great Mississippi company. Let me tell you a little bit about them, huh? You want to know the reason that you need to sit down at the table and say, country pleasin', please? Here's why. It all starts with hand-picked, pure pork. No parts, no stuff. It's hand-picked ham, bacon, it's pork loins, the real deal. They produce Country Pleasin' in small batches also, which means consistency in every package. Spices, fresh ones that are mixed daily on site right there at the plant in Florence. The hand-picked pure pork is coarse ground for an old-style snappy bite, better flavor. Now, their smokehouses are not cookie-cutter houses either. They are designed and built for country meat packers and for their own smoking methods. And they use hickory logs that they split daily on site. They don't use hickory sawdust. The logs produce a better smoke, a stronger flavor. It's the real deal. They use a natural hog casing for their sausage. It's soaked in vinegar for a tender snap. Country Pleasin' sausage is smoked in a 4-hour pure smoke process for the best color and flavor. And here's the thing, it's hand cut, so the package experience is great as well. When you check it out on grocery store shelves throughout the Southeast, you'll see what I'm talking about. And frankly, let me put it this way. It's the best tasting sausage you'll put in your mouth every time, period. That's Country Pleasin'. Have yourself a Country Pleasin' morning and always taste the shit.
Live online at thezone1059.com and
keep your radio turned on
to ESPN 105.9, The Zone.
All right. Where were we? Pouring a little more coffee out of my thermos into the oh, look at it. It's steaming hot still. Whew. Yes. All right. High Point Roasters in New Albany. That's where I get my coffee. High Point Roasters and highpointroasters.com. It's the best. Drink it every day. I just opened a bag of coffee from them. The title of it is Specialty Coffee for Pilots. That's the name of it. Like you got New Albany Blend and Dr. Ellis Blend. This is special.
That'll keep you buzzing around, won't it?
Bingo! The practitioner of puns over here. What is it? Specialty Coffee for Pilots. It's outstanding. It's really good stuff. Y'all get your coffee there. highpointroasters.com. Coming up later in the show, we're going to discuss this. Are people exercising and working out more outside, like walking, jogging, biking, all that kind of stuff, because the coronavirus deal has frightened us all into motivation to get in better shape? And I'm going to get around to that. I got a story behind it. I'm going to tell you why I'm doing that. So that's coming up. Also on Facebook, happy 29th anniversary to Greg and Tracy. Greg watching, listening. Hey, y'all. Happy anniversary from all of us here at the Matt Wyatt Show. And thanks for watching and tuning in on Facebook. Appreciate that. Jason on Facebook said, your argument supports that Power 5 and Group of 5 should just split. No question about it. Just draw a clear separating line. Power 5. Or divvy up the deal and just have a Power 4. Like a Super 4 conferences with 16 teams in every one, or however they have to do it. I guess it'd be more than that, but do that. And all these schools with resources, these conference affiliations, we know who they are. This really makes the AAC angry when you bring this up. Okay? And I got tons of respect for the AAC. I got tons of respect for, certain teams out there in the Mountain West and all these teams that you got total respect for them. You could schedule them and play them throughout the year. Okay? Power 5 versus Group of 5, or give them different names. I don't care what you call it. But draw a clear separating line where Boise can win the national championship it deserves. Where Southern Miss and their fans can really get into it. Television doesn't change. Television opportunities actually go up because you're playing for something meaningful.
So question. With COVID being the way it is, and let's just say football does not happen, is what's happening now and what will be happening, who knows what that will be. Is that going to be the watershed for all these changes in college football that people have been wanting to see happen?
Yes, I think it is.
Because of the money issue, that there will be some programs that there's no way they can compete. So they just fall by the wayside for a while. I don't know if it's even as good as a UAB analogy.
Yeah.
But I mean, is this what is going to create all these things that people have been buzzing about for years now?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe it could. Hey, and look, JB, the only reason this stuff, it is so obvious. The things that I'm saying and proposing here and we're talking about, it's so obvious to everybody who's invested in this stuff that it's the right thing to do. But you know why it never happens and why they won't do it and haven't done it to this point? Money. Nobody wants to upset the apple cart and turn it over. Right now, that cart comes rolling down the hill every year loaded with cash. And as long as it's still coming over that hill, down the hill, loaded with cash, nobody wants to fool with anything. And the NCAA, this is how absurd things have become at the NCAA level. Is they will tell you, they will look you straight in the eye, the folks in Indianapolis, and tell you that the student-athlete experience is still at the top of the list. Student-athlete, the welfare of the student-athlete, the experience of the student-athlete is still at the top of their list of concerns and priorities. Bull. B-U-L-L. Bull. If it was a priority, then long ago, the thousands of athletes at that non-Power 5 level, talking about football, would have been given the opportunity to go win a national championship that they deserve. The kids playing at Southern Miss are no different than the ones playing at Mississippi State and Ole Miss, except they are made to feel and believe they are second-class citizens because they were 2 stars and not 4 stars. And the fact they don't have a national championship to play for. They do not have one. And so far, because of that apple cart filled with cash, nobody has wanted to stick their neck out there and figure out a way to give them one. When the whole stupid thing is easy. And like I said, they will find that instead of, at the end of the year, sending Southern Miss to some random bowl game, playing whoever, or telling me that the Conference USA title game is important. I'm going to watch Southern Miss and Conference and Western Kentucky play. Okay, great, wonderful. Whatever that TV rating is for that game or that bowl game would double if it's a part of a Group of 5 full-fledged playoff towards a legit national championship. More people would be interested. The fans of the schools would be more interested and invested. The players and the coaches would. And television would. And the fact that nobody realizes that is, it blows my mind that well-intentioned, experienced people could be so stupid sometimes. All right, Brandon is on the Davini Equipment phone line. Hanging on. What's up, Brandon?
Hey, Matt. How are you, man?
As far as I know, I'm all right. Thanks for calling.
I always love the show. First-time caller or whatever. I just wanted to mention, you mentioned something a while ago, and then it kind of got off topic or whatever, but, you know, mentioning people getting outside more often and trying to walk and all this. I think it's a twofold thing, maybe a health-conscious thing, but I know I've been going and I've really gotten addicted to, in the last 3 or 4 months, I've been going to Chattanooga and going and looking at waterfalls and hiking, and it's just safe. It's a safe place to go. I feel safer than going anywhere else. And I think that has a part of it is why people are getting outside more, because they feel a little bit more safer instead of rubbing shoulders with people. And I'll let you go.
Yeah, appreciate the phone call. You know, the reason I brought that up, and I'm going to come back around to it, I got a thought or two, because I put it out on Twitter also, Brandon. I just tweeted it out earlier today and said, hey, are people outside exercising a little more because of, they're motivated by this whole coronavirus thing? I just thought I'd see what responses we got. I got some really interesting responses, and most of them along the same lines. And so I'm going to come back to that and give you what some of those responses are. But the reason I brought it up is I noticed it. For months now, I've been outside every day, not only doing stuff, but then getting out, hitting the roads and walking, jogging, and a little bike riding here and there. And I believe that this summer more than others, I have noticed more people of all different ages. I've noticed people in my neighborhood out walking and sweating and exercising that I've never seen out before. And it just made me think, I wonder if people looked at that and went, you know what? They keep saying that people with pre-existing health things, I better get myself in shape. I just wondered. Doggone it. Dadgummit.
You all right?
Yeah.
Fall off your standing desk?
Well, I'm looking at something here on Twitter.
You had me worried there for a minute, man.
Well, I'm looking at something here on Twitter, and it says, JB, that it's your birthday. Is it your birthday?
It is, man.
You think
we another trip around the sun?
Another trip. Man, if I had known right now on the button right here, I'd have that Madonna version of Happy Birthday that she sang to Bill Clinton that time. You remember that?
Oh, Lord have mercy. I'd much prefer the Beatles.
Yeah, I bet you do. Well, happy birthday, man.
Thank you, my friend.
So is that why Fletch brought you a gift, or was that just coincidence?
I think it was just kind of coincidental.
Okay.
But hey, man, I'm happy to have a banana. But it makes me think of that movie, Beverly Hills Cop, and my buddy, we always talk about, I ain't falling for no banana in the tailpipe.
Yeah. Beverly Hills Cop. Wasn't that the one? Okay, so Eddie Murphy, and it had the cool soundtrack with Axel F.
That's correct.
Remember that song?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, look, when I was a kid, I kind of grew up in a Sandlot neighborhood. I was so lucky. Okay, we were super duper middle class. Like, there were no big nice houses in my neighborhood. Okay, get that straight first of all. And that might have been part of the reason where as kids we never wanted to spend any time inside.
If I stayed inside, my mom found me something to do.
Yeah, exactly. It was like Billy Gardell. He's one of my favorite comedians, and he's, old school, middle class, Pittsburgh guy. Yeah, he said his dad used to put them out in the summertime in the morning and then lock the doors. He said we'd come back to the house banging on the door around lunchtime, and Dad tell us to go away. I'm like, Dad, I'm thirsty. He said Dad would yell out of the house, use the hose.
Exactly. And that taste hasn't changed.
That's right.
In all my life. I drank out of the hose this weekend.
Yeah, the hose. But what I was going to say, we had this Sandlot in the neighborhood, and one guy had a stereo like with a tape player, and he had a tape. And on one side, it was the Miami Vice theme song. And on the other side, it was Axel F. from Beverly Hills Cop.
Harold Faltermeyer. That's the gentleman that composed that.
What a weird name for that song. But he flipped that tape over back and forth. We just listened to it all the time playing basketball. Stick around. Hour 2 coming up.
You made a promise to your community, and Bank Plus stands beside you. It's a shared promise to lend a hand, to build, to work, to invest yourself, to make a difference. You made a promise, and so did we.
So,
Mississippi, to each other. Bank Plus. It's more than a name, it's a promise. Member FDIC.
Sometimes you need money in a hurry, and USA Pawn is there to loan cash for your personal items, like jewelry, computers, or almost anything. When you repay your loan, you'll get your item back. It's easy and safe. In business more than 25 years, USA Pawn is licensed and regulated. We're not your typical pawn shop. Get your quick cash loan today at USA Pawn. 3 locations in the Jackson area, plus Vicksburg, Pearl, and Canton. USA Pawn.
Thinking about life insurance? What if you could make one free phone call and learn your best price from nearly a dozen highly rated, price-competitive companies? Well, that's exactly what happens when you call SelectQuote Life. For example, George is 40. He was getting sky-high quotes from other companies because he takes meds to control his blood pressure. But when I shopped around, I found him a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $25 a month. I'm SelectQuote agent Dan Savino. And believe me, if SelectQuote isn't shopping for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 800-721-4880. That's 800-721-4880. 800-721-4880. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Or price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
A powerful threat calls for a greater response.
When there's a battle, bring strength.
When there's a problem, seek answers.
When there is doubt, give hope.
Not tomorrow.
Not in a few years.
But right now.
Some battles must be faced together. Cancer fighters stand up to cancer every day. And you can be part of this battle too.
Visit standuptocancer.org to learn more.
Together, we can save lives.
11-year-old Hazel lives in a place that's rich in many things, but not money. As a young child, her job is to play, grow, and learn. But for kids like her in the world's poorest places, poverty gets in the way. There was a time when Hazel had to trek more than 2 hours every day to collect water from a dirty river. Once, when she got a life-threatening infection and her mother had no money for a hospital, Hazel nearly died. But thanks to Child Fund supporters, Hazel and her community now have clean drinking water and access to health care. And Hazel has a better chance to fulfill her potential. Child Fund works in 24 countries to make sure children grow up healthy, educated, self-sufficient, and safe, wherever they were born. Why? Because Child Fund knows the promise inside every child is greater than the poverty around them. Learn more at childfund.org.
Since the moment you were born, I've made 1,000 wishes. Wishes for your future. In a world that's changing fast. For all of the things you may one day do play and laugh. Do win and lose. Do learn from your mistakes. And challenge yourself to grow. Do not be afraid. Or make decisions based in fear. Do it all with confidence and with kindness and strength. Do call your mom and ask her for advice. And always do your best to remember that no matter what you do in this life, thank you. What matters to me is that you keep doing. And love you always, Mom. Inspire kids to do at 4h.org.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. That's doihaveprediabetes.org.
Wait, did they just say 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes? That's 33.33333% of adults. That means it could be me, my boss, or my boss's boss, or me, my favorite sister, or my other sister. That's 7 members of my 21-person romantic book club. Wait, the 1 in 3 could be me, my karaoke partner Carol, or my karaoke enemy Jeff. I'm gonna take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
WRKS Pickens Jackson.
Hi, John.
It's time to get back to the Matt Wyatt Show.
Live in the studio.
Online at thezone1059.com and on your radio at ESPN 105.9 The Zone.
Yes, sir. Hour number 2 off and running. What's up? I'm Matt in the Farm Bureau studio. Farm Bureau, go! With the home team. They are your home team at Farm Bureau Insurance across the great state of Mississippi. Available to you in all 82 counties. Your hometown heroes. That's your local Farm Bureau insurance agent. Check them out at favrates.com. Staying connected to you because of C Spire, the #1 network in Mississippi. C Spire, customer inspired. Yeah, JB, you sent me that note about how everybody's freaking out about Tom Brady still using an iPhone 6, right?
Exactly.
What's the big deal with that?
I say he's tech savvy. He's probably smarter than everybody else because he's not being tracked by Big Brother and everybody else.
Well, you think it has anything to do with that last phone experience he had? Remember the whole smashing?
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
Yeah,
Tom, we're going to need your phone. We hear you deflated some footballs. We're going to need your phone so we can check out your text messages. Okay, I'll see y'all. I'll meet you in the parking lot tomorrow morning at 9, and I'll give it to you. Meanwhile, about an hour later, smash! It's in a million pieces. No, look, it's interesting. I did not plan this. For people watching the live stream right now, this is honest goodness truth. What is the big deal, people?
What is that? Is that a 5?
Because
I know you use one phone. You've got a one up-to-date phone, but you have one phone that you use just for.
These are my last 3 C Spire phones. The one I use currently is an iPhone 8 Plus or 8S. Is it 8 Plus? It's an 8 Plus. Okay, that's the one I have here. I'm hanging on to it because right now I have a special camera lens for this case that I film stuff with my iPhone. It makes it look good, and it fits this phone. I don't want to get rid of it yet. Okay, so I have that one. The one that's actually streaming the show. If you're watching this stream on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, you're seeing it through the camera of an iPhone 6S Plus. And the one right before that I hold in my hand that I still have is basically an unscratched, still like new iPhone 6. And I even broke this iPhone 6 out today thinking I might switch it out with that old one for the stream. I just didn't do it. But it still works fine. Nothing wrong with those. And people are freaking out because Tom Brady uses an iPhone 6. Whatever. People will freak out about anything, won't they?
People are just looking to be freaked out.
They are just looking for a reason to be freaked out. Sven, watching in Germany, he's commenting here. He reminded me that last week it was Dak's 27th birthday. It was not 28th. So he's 27. And then he also said many schools out here are shutting down their programs for volleyball, rowing, fencing. Meanwhile, the NCAA making $5 billion out of football. Isn't it crazy? Yeah, well, and what do they make off basketball, too? And those things do fund that. We'll get into it at some point. We'll either today or the next few days. It's going to hang around for a while and continue to bubble up. But with the Pac-12, they've got a group of players that are demanding half of the revenue that the league makes during all this. And there is another side to that, and that is, they do pocket it, and they pay those coaches millions upon millions of dollars and all that kind of stuff. But also, there's a charitable angle in there, too, because football is funding all those other sports. You've got, let's just put it this way. Every football, basketball playing college or university in the country is making money off of football or men's basketball or both in some ratio. depending on who they are. It's football and men's basketball. That's it. Nobody else making any money off anything. Softball is a big sport over there at, yeah, I know, they ain't making nothing. You know, track and field is really big at, I know, making squat. It costs some money. I mean, they're basically paying to do it, to have a reason for those athletes to come to their school. Because the universities, see the relationship here, y'all? The universities on their side understand that the single solitary best marketing tool they have at their disposal is their athletics teams, their football team, their basketball team, and in some cases the other sports. Sure, women's basketball and that kind of thing. It's the best. What is the marketing team, the professionals, the people you're paying to be on your marketing staff at the university? What are they primarily involved and invested with? Sports. It's the best marketing you have. Otherwise, nobody knows about you or cares. Successful teams, the best marketing arm that you have. But they're not making money. The only ones making money are football and men's basketball in some places. In a lot of places, men's basketball ain't making nothing. And in a lot of places, football is not making much. But it's how they fund everything. So the question then would be, if the revenue goes away from the schools and the athletics programs, how many people do they have to fire in order to still be able to fund women's sports as a part of Title IX? Because that's what you have to do. You have to fire. You have to trim off the amount of as much salary and expenses on people as you could possibly trim off to then be able to figure out where to move the money to still fund softball. Yeah. So that's kind of the weird relationship in all of that, as far as I'm concerned. But I certainly do find it interesting. Boys and girls, it is interesting times that we are living in. It is interesting. Yes, it is. The times are interesting that we are living in. There, I think I got it worded correctly. Hey, I didn't get to it in the first hour. Let's do it now. Countdown of 100 teams in 100 days. Let's do it.
100 teams. 100 days.
The countdown is presented by Matt Anderson Properties, a member of National Land Realty. Call Matt Anderson at 408-5155. That's 408-5155.
Matt Anderson Properties with National Land Realty. Matt can hook you up if you're buying or selling that piece of property, timberland, hunting land, recreational stuff, lakefront. You can view the property you're interested in buying at 360-degree interactive drone touring, and you can view properties without ever setting foot on them. If you're selling property, get comprehensive internet traffic reports for your listing as well. So call him, Matt Anderson. 601 number 408-5155, 408-5155. Team number 35 on the countdown of 100 teams, the Broncos of Boise. How about that? Okay, I don't know the words, but, you know, and the way it sounds, I'm not too keen on Boise's fight song. But I'll tell you this much. They sure have had plenty of opportunities to play the stupid fight song, haven't they? Wow. They were 12-2 in 2019. There we go. They were 12-2 last year. They were 10-3 the year before. 11-3 in 2017. 10-3 in 2016. And 9-4 in 2015. You have to go all the way back 5 years. You got to go back to 2015. The last time that Boise State did not win double-digit games. And if we went before that, we'd see a whole lot more of the same. See, and if the group of five had their own level of competition, then Boise would be like a dynasty there, wouldn't it? 12-2 at Boise last year. They have this year returning 5 starters on offense, 6 on defense. Their 5 starters does include their quarterback, who didn't necessarily put up phenomenal numbers last year. He was, kind of splitting the season last year with another player. Jalen Henderson, actually 12-2 touchdown to interception ratio, played the most. But Hank Bachmeier, 62% completion, 9 TDs, 6 interceptions he returns. Their top 3 ball carriers in terms of who they give it to, all coming back. They get 2 of their top 3 receivers back on this team. 4 of their top 5 tacklers off last year's team, all back at Boise this year. And so if you look at Mountain West, let's see, they were scheduled, Georgia Southern. So Georgia Southern's in the Sun Belt, correct? Yeah. Georgia. That's who Boise has scheduled right out of the gates on September the 5th, is Georgia Southern. So if you look at Georgia Southern, what is the likelihood that Georgia Southern and Boise State are playing football on September the 5th? Well, Georgia Southern is in the Sun Belt, Boise out in the Mountain West. I saw this morning on Twitter. Craig Stevenson, he does a show with Randy Kennedy in Mobile on radio down there. And this morning, they interviewed Joel Erdman, who is the athletics director at South Alabama. South Alabama in the Sun Belt. This is what South Alabama's AD told them on that radio show this morning in Mobile, that the season opener at Southern Miss is still on for September the 5th. They're still going to play on September the 5th. We're counting it down, 100 teams in 100 days up till Saturday, September the 5th. Today it is August the 3rd, basically 1 month away. And the South
National
Alabama
holiday, by the way.
What is?
Today.
It is? Today is?
National holiday, yeah. It's Watermelon Day.
When
It's my birthday.
Your birthday. I looked at the National Day calendar. Did you look at that one?
I did.
So it has 3 things for today, the National Day calendar. Today, August 3rd, National Georgia Day. What the heck is that all about? How you have a National Day for a state?
Promotes unity within the United States. God knows we could use some.
August 3rd is National Grab Some Nuts Day. No, I'm just reading it. Like peanuts, cashews, almonds.
I'm not a Brazilian nut guy.
Those Brazil nuts are huge and full of calories. They'd be great for hikers, but otherwise you just want to stay away from them. They're very good for you. And then, yes, it is National Watermelon Day. But anyway, we're a month away from September the 5th, and the point is the AD at South Alabama, who is in the Sun Belt, says our game September 5th at Southern Miss in Hattiesburg is still on. All right, then. So that may mean then that Mountain West Conference champ Boise State, hosting Georgia Southern on September the 5th from the Sun Belt, is also still on.
I'd say it may be still on, but going back to what we talked about last week on the show with travel-wise for the SEC schedule.
Yeah.
I just don't see Georgia Southern flying to Boise for the game or vice versa when you just get on Highway 98 from Hattiesburg to Mobile and you're there. I mean, it's a bus ride, 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Big difference between South Alabama and Hattiesburg versus
Boise,
Georgia Southern and Boise.
Yeah.
That's just my 2 cents.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. Yeah, and week 2, JB, Boise is supposed to go to Air Force. That's not that far. Air Force out there in Colorado. Where is it in Colorado? I've been to the Air Force Academy many, many, many years ago. Week 3, Boise was going to host Florida State on the blue turf, but now we know that was not happening. And then they have a Conference USA trip scheduled for the end of September. So the weekend that right now everybody else is scheduled to begin, that weekend of Saturday, September 26th, that Friday night on the 25th, Boise is scheduled to play at Marshall. And then after that, they would jump into Mountain West play. They host San Jose State, Utah State, UNLV, and Colorado State. They travel to Hawaii, New Mexico, Wyoming, and then they have BYU on the schedule They have a home game, a Friday night home game against BYU to begin the month of November. But that's at least what they have scheduled. Hey, I have a theory on that too. Now, I agree with you, JB.
Right.
You know, it makes more sense for South Alabama to just jump in a bus and drive up to Hattiesburg and play Southern Miss on September 5th than it does maybe Georgia Southern going all the way to Boise. And I get it. But let's look at that South Alabama Southern Miss deal. Okay? The whole rest of the football playing world, in the college world anyway, and Power 5 stuff, pushing everything back. We can speculate all the millions of reasons they would push everything back, not start early September, start at late September. Well, part of the reason is they're not going to play as many games, right? All this kind of stuff because they're not playing non-conference games and all this. But if you're South Alabama and you're Southern Miss, let me give you a scenario here. Southern Miss is missing out on $1.5 million check from the University of Auburn this year, right? I'm sorry. I said the University of Auburn. That is so wrong. It is Auburn University. There. Correction made. You know, $1.5 million, $2 million, whatever it is that Auburn was paying or going to pay Southern Miss to come to Auburn and play a game this year. A big, huge check, which is a big, huge chunk of the Southern Miss athletic budget. They're not going to get it because of the canceled schedules. Well, what if Southern Miss, teams from Conference USA, the Sun Belt, teams from the Sun Belt who are missing out on those checks, what if they're now, because the SEC won't be playing on September 5th, and the Big Ten won't likely be playing, and the Pac-12 won't, and the Big 12 probably won't, and the ACC won't be on TV in those first couple of weekends in September. Well, what if Southern Miss and South Alabama can get themselves a better TV slot? What if Conference USA and Sun Belt, yes, conferences, can for a week or 2 or 3 weeks in the beginning of September, if they're going to play, what if they can collect television checks that they normally don't get?
Well, you make a great point, because remember we talked last week when we found out about the SEC stuff that La Tech was getting bumped from a game with University of Arkansas, and they were losing $2 million in revenue from that. And then there was another game that La Tech got bumped from, so they were getting out of a $15 million athletic budget, $3.5 million it's not going to be coming in this year because those are two teams they weren't going to get to play.
Right. So what if Louisiana Tech, if they actually do go forward and play a game against anybody, they get some exposure they don't normally get in the early part of September. And if their conference is sharp, maybe they even get a check that they don't normally get from television because nobody else is playing in early September. Now, again, on the health front, you go, well, but several $1 million here or there, yeah, but what is it worth to put people at risk and health risks and fans? And I get it. But I'm just saying in reality, if you're going to play, is there not motivation for Sunbelt teams, Conference USA teams, to play early September games and get those television time slots? I don't know if any of that can be renegotiated. I don't know what their look-ins on their contracts are. Right now, for instance, Conference USA has a television deal with CBS College Sports Channel. I don't know that the Sunbelt does. I know the Conference USA does. So it's part of CBS, but CBS College Sports. That may totally prevent those Conference USA teams from even figuring out a way to have their game on ESPN. It may not be possible. But if it's the only game in the country in that time slot on September 5th on CBS College Sports, can the conference and the school go in there and renegotiate that with them? Because the rating is going to be bigger. And I guarantee you CBS College Sports is going to sell the advertising for more than they normally would. Just something to think about. I mean, it's something to think about, but something that I do think is also a part of reality. All right, Boise is team number 35. Team number 34 coming up later in this hour. Y'all text me on the country, please, and text line. It's 885-ESPN or 885-3776. Love to get your phone calls as well on the Divinity phone. Here on the text line, let's see. Unnamed texter said, what kind of information are SEC schools required to release in regards to COVID-19 infections. Are they required to quarantine players that are infected? That's two questions I don't know the absolute definitive answer to, but I can tell you this. I mean, on the last one, are they required to quarantine players that are infected? I think that was an absolute yes. Yeah.
I'm not sure they can list the names due to HIPAA regulations within the university and also just medically.
Yeah, as far as releasing the names, I don't know they can, but I mean,
they can say we've had X amount of players test positive.
Yeah.
They're being quarantined, but I don't think they can list names, and you won't know until game day when so and so's not on the field for pregame whether or not they have been quarantined.
Yeah, and JB, that's like, we get used to that every year anyway, kind of dealing with that same scenario, because we hear, Mississippi State had 5 players suspended this week for so-and-so and so-and-so, and then we don't know exactly for sure officially who those 5 are until Saturday. You know what I mean? We get a release and it'll say, these players aren't in the starting lineup. So we kind of.
I think it's a lot of privacy issues too, but I also think it's just to protect the kids.
Yeah.
Because they don't want them being interviewed without somebody around them to help them kind of out.
That's right. Yeah, because you don't know what they're going to say about it. Ron texted the show and said, he was talking about, he meant to add the group of 5 champs into a particular, like a playoff scenario. His revised college football playoff, where you'd have Power 5 champions, the best record from an independent, but he also meant to add the group of 5 champion into the new playoff. That's his idea. So looks like Robert Woodard, basketball player, indeed is declaring for that NBA draft, going to stay in it. Mississippi State men's basketball tweeted out, "Good luck. Once a Bulldog, always a Bulldog." So apparently he's going to keep his name in. So there you go. Are you exercising more because of COVID? Let me get into that next. I'm Matt. Stick around.
Farm Bureau Insurance stands ready to provide financial relief to our communities in this time of crisis. This includes a one-time credit to all personal auto policyholders, a donation of $500,000 to the Mississippi Food Network, and additional payment options for those hit the hardest, all while continuing to service customer claims as well. But this is the time to go above and beyond. These are a few ways we're keeping the Farm Bureau promise. To learn more, talk to your agent or visit us online. Go with the home team.
Every farmer understands their farm can't thrive without some good partners like sun, soil, and rain. And farmers in North Mississippi also rely on another important partner, Mississippi Land Bank, because land and farm financing are Mississippi Land Bank's primary focus. We've grown alongside these farmers' crops for more than 100 years. We understand what a farmer needs, and we know the lay of the land in North Mississippi, and that's where I stand.
How you like my hog hat? That stands for Country Pleasin' Sausage. Country Meat Packers is a great Mississippi company. Let me tell you a little bit about them, huh? You want to know the reason that you need to sit down at the table and say, "Country pleasin', please"? Here's why. It all starts with hand-picked, pure pork. No parts, no stuff. It's hand-picked ham, bacons, pork loins, the real deal. They produce Country Pleasin' in small batches also, which means consistency in every package. Spices, fresh ones that are mixed daily on site right there at the plant in Florence. The hand-picked pure pork is coarse ground for an old-style snappy bite, better flavor. Now, their smokehouses are not cookie-cutter houses either. They are designed and built for country meat packers and for their own smoking methods. And they use hickory logs that they split daily on site. They don't use hickory sawdust. The logs produce a better smoke, a stronger flavor. It's the real deal. They use a natural hog casing for their sausage. It's soaked in vinegar for a tender snap. Country Pleasin' sausage is smoked in a 4-hour pure smoke process for the best color and flavor. And here's the thing, it's hand cut, so the package experience is great as well. When you check it out on grocery store shelves throughout the Southeast, you'll see what I'm talking about. And frankly, let me put it this way. It's the best tasting sausage you'll put in your mouth every time, period. That's country pleasing. Have yourself a country pleasing morning, and always text the show on the country pleasing text line.
Guys, 2020 is here. So new year, that means we got some new products, and I know you guys are probably getting ready for this year coming up. So a lot of people in the equipment world, things kind of go in trends, I guess, if you want to say it. So kind of the first big thing for 2020 that we look at when we start evaluating our business is going to be our turf equipment. That's kind of the first big push, because once the water dries up and the grass starts growing, this is what everybody's looking to get. So we've got Kubota, we've got Toro, we carry the new Wright stand-up mower. Doesn't look like much, and it's dirty as all get out. But this thing is, and it costs just as much as zero turn. Not a cheap unit at all. I mean, if you go out there and look at that zero turn, this thing right here, I mean, it's got all your components from your big pumps to your commercial engine to your large steel deck. And these guys were the first ones to make the standard mower. So we added this product last year, and I was just trying to kind of wade in the water with it just to kind of see what they would do. Number one stand-on mower out there. If you do your own research, get online, all roads are going to basically lead back to Wright. So and Red Max, so from the handheld to the Red Max mowers, we have everything here at Davini. You've got homeowner mowers, starting with a 100 series, going up to the 400 series, going up to your full-blown commercial 700 series and your diesel mowers. Yeah, so we've already gotten a lot of calls this year, commercial guys. They're getting ready to plan this coming up season, this coming up year, trying to get their equipment needs ready to go for their customers. So, a big part of our business is dealing with the landscape contractors, those guys that are out every day busting it during the summertime.
So what do you think? Thanks for being a part of the show. Y'all text me on the Country Pleasing text line, 885-ESPN, 885-ESPN, or 885-3776. Country Pleasing Sausage on grocery store shelves throughout the Southeast. The best anywhere. I'm Matt in the Farm Bureau studio. Farm Bureau, go with the home team. Anthony from Tupelo on the text line. Anthony says, if I understand it correctly, one of the Pac-12 player demands was that players who had tested positive on the teams they were playing be reported. So the individual names, the whole medical HIPAA thing is so confusing. Maybe it's just confusing for me. I'll admit it if it's just me. I don't know, but I never can seem to get a handle on it. Every time it ever comes up, somebody comes along and goes, yeah, but you've got this stipulation and that, and you could do this, and people are wrong about it. Heck, man, I don't know what they can or can't do. My thing is, Anthony, what those players in that particular unity group out in the Pac-12 demanding, I don't know which part of it you take seriously. I don't know which part of it their league takes seriously. Right now, until something else pops up, that league is not going to take it seriously. The demand that the player is going to get half the revenue that the league makes, they're not taking that seriously right now. I don't really know that I have a real strong opinion on it one way or the other. It just kind of is what it is. I've always felt like, if you look at markets, value, the money's always going to go where the value is. It always does. It always has. It just will. It'll gravitate that way. That's where the money will go. And if the real value, if what those players think their value is in that particular argument, if that's really where the value is, then the money will go there. But if not, it won't. That's kind of the way that stuff will play out. The thing on the other demands, though, you go, okay, I understand that a player wants to make sure that there are no opposing teams and coaches concealing positive tests, players who are infected with the virus, who haven't been quarantined for the right amount of time and that kind of stuff, or you don't want players concealing it. And then you're put in a position of danger because you're out there with them. I can understand that. Wanting some guarantee that I'm not going to be out here locking arms with and pushing and shoving and getting breathed on by somebody who's got it, and they're playing just because they're a good football player and you want to win the game. And so y'all covered it up. Just one of the many, many things they're going to have to overcome, I think. Speaking of the virus, I put this out there on Twitter earlier today. There's some really interesting thoughts. Are people exercising a little more because of COVID? The tweet itself said, has COVID motivated more people to walk, jog, exercise, or get in shape? I said that it seems like I had noticed more activity on the streets. That's why I put it out there. It just seemed to me that I've just noticed more people out, not in groups, walking, jogging, walking the dog, riding a bike. People I hadn't seen before out doing it. And I guess there's a lot of reasons. You go, well, they're home, or the kids are home and driving them crazy. They just want to get out. I can get that. But I just wondered if there's this whole thing, too, of, a lot of people, especially older folks, that saw and have seen on and on how pre-existing health condition stuff is making this virus, making you a target for this virus. There were a few interesting responses. Caleb responded, and he said, more so the weight I gained during the early part of COVID has prompted me to start exercising again. Sean said, generally, I would say yes. However, I think those that it didn't motivate got worse. I don't think many maintained they either got better, healthier, or got worse, gained weight, less activity. And maybe that's true. It's kind of, separated. I thought that was interesting. Former teammate of mine, Trey Belcher, he had a comment about that, the possibility that you had a lot of gyms that are closed. And there are people out there doing outdoor workout stuff, organized workout stuff to get people involved. Somebody responded and said, yeah, I lost 18 pounds at this point. Work out 6 days a week, been a blessing in disguise for me. Earlier Brandon called the show in regards to that and said that for him, it was an opportunity to kind of get out, reconnect with nature. He's gone hiking more. He's been doing more. And it really has changed things for him in a positive way. Chris on Twitter says, I wouldn't say it motivated me more. I've always been a runner. I think it just gives me and a lot of people more time to fit the exercise in since we aren't going as many places. Absolutely. 100% agree with that. Somebody texted the show on the Country Pleasing text line and said there's nothing else to do and no place to go. I guess that's right. I think that's what it is. I think it's all those factors combined. There's probably for some, there's that element of, well,
I think a lot of it, people just want to get out of the house.
Yeah.
You can only, I'm not a video game guy, never was, so that doesn't really float my boat. But there was just only so much TV you could sit and watch when all these things first started. And it was also just doomsday every day. And I know I had to get out and walk because of my back, but I saw people in my neighborhood I have not seen before.
Yeah.
Other than maybe waving to them in their car as they drive by the house. But now they're out walking and, people were distancing at the beginning and maybe not so much now. But I don't know. It just took me back to kind of what you said earlier in the show, Matt, about growing up in a sandlot neighborhood.
Right.
I mean, things were simple.
Absolutely. Things were simple. It did show, I had already gotten motivated even before the pandemic set in. I was about a month ahead of it because I had gone to the doctor because I kept having these flu-like symptoms I couldn't get over for a month and a half or more. And I'd gone to one doctor and another doctor. I couldn't get over it. Finally, I went to one doctor. This is the beginning of February or close. It was in January. And he says, hey, you need to get active and lose some weight. He's looking at my weight. And I'd gotten too heavy. And definitely had gotten too heavy. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. So I decided, and he scared me a little bit. He started talking about heart things, and all that. So I thought, well, okay, I got to get in shape. So I kicked it off and got started at the beginning of February. I've talked about it on this show, lost weight, lost about 40 pounds. I've managed to keep it off now for a little while. And was about a month into that whole deal for me, the eating, the watching it, the counting calories, the exercising. Mainly just eating, counting calories to drop weight every day, every week. But was about a month into that when we were visiting my dad down in Dothan, Alabama. We realized that the SEC men's basketball tournament had been canceled that week. Then I got the phone call that Roger had passed. And then we came home and everything was just topsy-turvy, it seemed like, since then. But, in that amount of time, I and especially during the early parts of the quarantine, JB,
yeah,
that was it. There were a lot of work things, not the radio show. We kept going with the radio show because I could do it from home, But a lot of the other work stuff and the video work stuff just got put completely on hold. It just stopped. And for a while, for good reason. And it's up and going again. But during that time, it was like this. It was like having the first time in my life in a long time where I could totally give myself permission to just go out for an hour or two and just chill out.
Mental health.
It has been, it has been transforming in some ways. And I'm not going back mentally. Yeah. People talk about, JB, being on that hamster wheel.
Yeah.
But the mental hamster wheel is the worst part about it.
Yeah, get your mind to shut down. It's hard to do.
Yeah. So that part of it has been healthy. Now if we could just play a little football. That's terrible, isn't it?
I was watching CBS News yesterday morning, and the guy said, what is the new normal? This is not new, and it's not normal. I don't like it, and I just sat there and thought, I said, it's life. It is what it is. You either crawl in a hole and worry about everything, or you face life and you do the best you can.
That's right.
And you give it what you got. And as I've kind of felt the last couple of days, man, not only do you bloom where you're planted, but you grow where you're placed.
Yeah.
So,
or you should.
Yeah. At least try.
Right. Yeah, and a lot of it, most of that has everything to do with kind of the mental state that you are in. Right? And kind of your outlook on life and on everything else. I think for some people, they have responded to this as positively as they can. There's no guarantee that we aren't going to catch it. There's no guarantee everything's going to be fine. We don't know any of that. But we've responded by, we get outside and get active. Kind of go back to those sandlot roots and enjoy the sunshine and walking around, running around, playing in the dirt. Get back to nature. All right, stick around.
Mississippi's best sports book is Bet America. Located at
Farm
Riverwalk
Bureau Insurance stands ready to provide financial relief to our communities in this time of crisis. This includes a one-time credit to all personal auto policyholders, a donation of $500,000 to the Mississippi Food Network, and additional payment options for those hit the hardest, all while continuing to service customer claims as well. But this is the time to go above and beyond. These are a few ways we're keeping the Farm Bureau promise. To learn more, talk to your agent or visit us online. Go with the home team.
Every farmer understands their farm can't thrive without some good partners like sun, soil, and rain. And farmers in North Mississippi also rely on another important partner, Mississippi Land Bank, because land and farm financing are Mississippi Land Bank's primary focus. We've grown alongside these farmers' crops for more than 100 years. We understand what a farmer needs, and we know the lay of the land in North Mississippi, and that's where I stand.
You hear me say that C Spire is the number one network in Mississippi. That's unquestioned. They are another great Mississippi company as well and really support local sports, high school. You know, you see their logo and their advertisements at Ole Miss and at Mississippi State and at Southern Miss and everywhere. And you may have heard this, you may not have, though. I mentioned this recently on the show, but there's a new thing they have at C Spire called the C Spire Health app. Okay, go to cspirehealth.com, read about it, sign up, and you put that app on your phone. And basically, if you have a minor ailment, a sickness, a minor health issue, something that, you know, we're not talking about a broken leg or a heart attack. I mean, you know, minor sickness ailments, instead of having to go to the doctor for that and sit in the doctor's office for an hour, if you live out, you know, drive 40 minutes just to get to the doctor's office, you pick up the phone, click on the C Spire Health app, and within minutes, you are video chatting, like FaceTime. You're video conferencing, talking to a medical professional at University Medical Center. One-on-one, live conversation, like nurse practitioner, someone like that. And a lot of times they can tell you what's going on, maybe even diagnose you right there on your phone and prescribe something without you ever even having to leave your house. Check it out, cspirehealth.com and the C Spire Health app. How you like my hog hat? That stands for Country Pleasin' Sausage. Country Meat Packers, a great Mississippi company. Let me tell you a little bit about them, huh? You want to know the reason that you need to sit down at the table and say, country pleasin', please? Here's why. It all starts with hand-picked, pure pork. No parts, no stuff. It's hand-picked ham, bacons, pork loins, the real deal. They produce country pleasin' in small batches also, which means consistency in every package. Spices, fresh ones that are mixed daily on site right there at the plant in Florence. The hand-picked pure pork is coarse ground for an old-style snappy bite, better flavor. Now, their smokehouses are not cookie-cutter houses either. They are designed and built for country meat packers and for their own smoking methods. And they use hickory logs that they split daily on site. They don't use hickory sawdust. The logs produce a better smoke, a stronger flavor. It's the real deal. They use a natural hog casing for their sausage. It's soaked in vinegar for a tender snap. Country Pleasin' sausage is smoked in a 4-hour pure smoke process for the best color and flavor. And here's the thing, it's hand cut, so the package experience is great as well. When you check it out on grocery store shelves throughout the Southeast, you'll see what I'm talking about. And frankly, let me put it this way. It's the best tasting sausage you'll put in your mouth every time, period. That's Country Pleasin'. Have yourself a Country Pleasin' morning, and always text the show on the Country Pleasin' text line. Bureau Insurance. And here's a couple things I want you to know about Farm Bureau Insurance in Mississippi. Number one, they call themselves the home team. There's a reason for that. It's not just... Back on the show in the Farm Bureau studio, about to wrap up hour 2. In hour 3, we'll continue the countdown of 100 teams in 100 days. Let's see, what do we have left today? We've got a Big 12 team and an SEC team to jump into today. Fight songs and all that jazz and everything that's coming up in hour 3. And I'll encourage you, if you've been watching the live stream of hours 1 and 2 here today on this Monday, we'll send you on over to the audio live stream. Lots of different ways you can listen to the show online. Just go to the website, thezone1059.com, thezone1059.com. Click the play button. You'll be listening live to whatever's on the air. You can also do what I do, use the iHeart app on your phone. Whenever I'm listening to Jake on the drive in the afternoons, I just open up iHeart. I had already searched once in there, 105.9, The Zone, and there it is. I just click play and listen on the go via the old smartphone. It really is smart. I put a new smart TV in my house this weekend. It's really smart.
Oh, talk to me. I want to know what you got.
Yeah, it was, kind of a budget-friendly model. It's an LG. It's a lot like the one I have in here.
Life's good.
Is that what it stands for?
Yeah, absolutely.
LG. Yeah, it works well. We just did a little remodeling and got rid of an older TV and moved a couple around and that kind of stuff. But everything's...
Do you have a man cave?
No, I mean, this office studio kind of serves as that, but I don't really need one. I don't want one. I I've never been somebody who let me just put it this way.
Goes against what we were talking about in the last segment, right?
It kind of does. There's something about me that if I am in this house and my wife and daughter are also in this house, I just have to be where they are. And see, and I'm sort of antisocial. I'm not a big extrovert. I'm not a socialite. Never have been. I can spend all the time I need to spend alone. Me's all right. You know, if I didn't love my wife and daughter so much, I could live out in the woods and be fine. Right by myself. But when they're here, I have to be where they are. That's just something about it. I can't be comfortable just getting up here in the office in the studio, working on stuff, doing video stuff, kicking back, watching a little TV, knowing they're in another room doing something else. I can't do it. Different personalities. So man cave, like if I had a souped up man cave, the only way I'd ever use it is if they came in there with me. And then it's not a man cave, is it?
It'd be a y'all cave.
Then it's a y'all cave. That's right. So, you know, different strokes for different folks. Here we go. Davini Equipment phone line. I want to remind you, if y'all listening right now, you've heard me mention Davini Equipment a lot. Really appreciate them. Great, great folks. Great family. You're a Kubota dealer. I've said before, I think the way I've worded it before, they are the oldest Kubota dealer in the U.S., which means they've been doing it better, longer than anyone else. 2 locations, Highway 51 Madison, Spring Ridge Road in Jackson, Raymond. They are hiring right now. Y'all spread the word. If you know anybody out there looking for a job that fits this mold, Davini Equipment, they are looking for a diesel technician. They need an assembly technician. These are jobs in the shop. They need a service writer in the shop. They need a sales associate, ag sales, turf sales, construction sales. They are hiring right now at Davini Equipment. I know a lot of people are out there looking for jobs. Hit them up. You can find the contact info at DaviniEquipment.com. On the Davini phone at 995-1059 is Fletch hanging on. Fletch, appreciate you calling. How you doing today?
All well. Thanks, sir.
Good. Hey, tell me about this Chucky Mullins movie. When is that coming out, or is it going on? They like working on it right now?
Well, this, as I understand it, the same production company that did the 30 for 30 did the movie, and it was around Thanksgiving about 2 years ago, and it has kind of been fraught with problems. Evidently from the get-go. It was supposedly coming out from the angle from Brad Gaines's perspective and not as much Chucky's.
Okay.
And as as some of the Ole Miss people that I've talked to about it told me, once they realized that, some of those people started stepping away from it, and that's kind of how I got involved. You may be familiar with Leroy Mullins, the longtime trainer at Ole Miss, the athletic trainer.
Yeah.
That I worked for back in the late 80s as an undergrad, then on staff in the 90s. I talked to Leroy about it, and Leroy, he's such a stickler for detail. When he found out it, maybe he didn't appreciate the nuances between a documentary and a movie. Once he found out they were dramatizing a lot of things that didn't happen, he couldn't get on board. So I ended up kind of taking his place as I think they call me the technical director for the part when we packaged up Chucky out on the field. Now, I was an undergrad back then when Chucky got hurt, and I was not on the field at the time when they were packaging him up. I was actually an M Club officer, so I was in the stands in a tux, getting ready to escort one of the homecoming maids.
Okay.
And then I went back in the locker room after the homecoming festivities, and then went back out on the sideline. But I was not on the field that day. I was not in the documentary 30 for 30. But I played the part of Alan Lawler, the redheaded assistant trainer that was on Chucky's head when they packaged him up and took him off the field.
Okay. And so you're in the movie, and Fletch, like you said, there's been some, whatever the word is, some angst from the get-go. But I guess what I'm curious about is, do we know when I'm going to get to watch it?
Well, that's a good question. I understood they had to go back and refilm some scenes or redo some things.
Yeah.
But it was actually supposed to have had its world premiere at the Ford Performing Arts Center on campus in Oxford. Back, I don't remember, April-ish, when they had the Oxford Film Festival.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be the premiere. Y'all are probably familiar with Dino Orr. He was one of Chucky's contemporaries on player. He was involved getting some people around that was in the movie.
Okay.
Some of the players, trainers, managers from that era supposed to be involved with that premiere, and then obviously COVID happened, and all of that got squashed. Now they did some of that Oxford Film Festival stuff, view on demand on some of the films that were featured there, but I have not been able to find. I'm pretty sure they're calling it It's Time.
Okay.
I have not been able to figure out when It's Time is going to be broadcast. It does not appear to be available.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's going to be interesting how it plays out. I mean, they had a couple decent actors playing Brad and Chucky. Some of that was legit. I don't know about a lot of the rest of the scenes. I just was down here in Jackson when they filmed it at the vet down here.
Okay.
Some of the, they had some of the players like just small item. One of the players in the iconic pregame photo where Chucky and Brewer are running out.
Mm-hmm.
There's a white player, Greg Hogue, who's a kicker. I think he was 25. He's in that photo on the right-hand side. He was probably, 6 foot. They had about a 5'8" black guy playing him in the movie. So small parts. The majority of the public won't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
But, a lot of the insider players and folks would say, hang on. So people just have to realize it's going to be a movie. It's going to be dramatized. It will be based on facts, hopefully facts. And hopefully it will come out and be a good representation of everybody involved.
Yeah.
But I have heard some kind of negative take on the angle they came at it from Brad Gaines' side and some of the effort on that part.
Sure. Well, and I guess too, there's probably an element of every movie that's ever come out, it's got its critics, and even the great movies, there's some people that threw tomatoes at it and all that kind of stuff. So it's just a matter of seeing it. And
they're always going to have to dramatize it to either make it work or to make it a little more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand that. So Coach Brewer and Leroy Mullins, I don't think were real comfortable with that and began to distance himself.
Okay.
But they both kind of gave me blessings to do what I could. I told them I would try to make it as accurate as I could for what little bit I was involved. But Matt, another connection we have, a love for Chucky Mullins, is after I finished at Ole Miss in '90, I went to Alabama and was a graduate assistant before being on staff for them for that 90-year championship season. But that allowed me to get to know and love Kevin Turner.
Oh, yeah. Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah, Kevin Turner. Another guy you could make a movie out of his life if you wanted to. No doubt about it.
Absolutely. They ought to do it.
Yeah. Hey, Fletch, thanks so much. Good to talk to you.
Good to see y'all. Take care. God
yeah.
bless.
You talk to you later. How about that? Small world. Kevin Turner from Prattville, Alabama. He was on the 1984 championship team at Prattville. Played at Alabama, running back, fullback. Played in the NFL, Eagles, Patriots. And died from ALS, I guess, about 2 years ago. Good call. Good info from Fletch. Looking forward to the Chucky Mullins movie. It's Time. Stick around.
Purchasing a home can be one of the greatest accomplishments